that's Buddy What's His Name, which is probably more visible than Kevin Blackmore. Deliberately, I'm normally reclusive when not on stage, dual personality. So I have this thing where I had to make a livelihood through pursuing entertainment. So other than that, I really relish being obscure, which is odd because I've said yes to this. I started actually with Chris Lornelli in 1979 to perform on stage as a comic, and just, I suppose you could call us comics. It was a load of fun. In '82, when I gave up with him, as I told you, I didn't want to go back to entertaining, but I was sort of drawn into it. But it was all of kind of 1987 before Ray and Wayne went at it full time with me. But we had enjoyed perhaps 3 years of going at it on weekends anyway, up to that point. And so there was at no particular point could you say I was really out of it. I was always doing it. I had to pursue it for a livelihood. As I say, I tell you the process of being an entertainer. If you do it the way Buddy What's His Name and the other fellows have done it, you need a Northeast Coast Protestant for a business manager. You need somebody Irish, or at least has steep Irish roots, for a melody man, and passionate sort of preservation of things, all things traditional, and absolutely given to emotions, no rational thought. That would be Ray Johnson. And then you sort of need me in the middle. You need somebody who's willing to stand on stage and make a fool of themselves. And so that's me. Newfoundland expats, young people who go away, and that's pretty well everybody in rural Newfoundland. When they go away to work in Fort McMurray, Edmonton, Calgary, and all over Ontario and all over BC, they flock to our shows, and they become the biggest sort of part of our audiences, you know. So in a way that has been really advantageous to us. But in another aspect of looking at it too, the whole idea of appearing to be so provincial or so localized in character point can be limiting, and that's why I at least have always tried to never focus on a singular character as say Buddy, rather explore a whole wide range of different things that I might do on stage, including playing music. It could be said that my stage characters are kind of limited, but then I'm still just one person. And we've been very fortunate, only because we've been able to look around the communities we live in and be inspired by people who make us laugh or who give us something to write a song about. And again, there, coming from rural Newfoundland seems to be a bit of an advantage. Because my parents, and this is all too recent for them, it wasn't my experience, but they know what it's like to have grown up in very little, where you had literally what we call tilts, or small cabins for shelter. You had too little clothing, and you had too little to eat, and you didn't have education or medical services. That was the reality in the 1930s in Newfoundland. So much has changed since then. We're not even the same culture, but too many people will look at you when you ask about where they're from, and they'll remember some part of what they identify about themselves as being slightly rural. Everyone loves to be slightly rural because it gives them more identity, gives them something they can feel that they're from much harder circumstances than they've had it. It's not really the case. Most of us in Newfoundland, ever since we've been born in the 50s, the boomers, ever since 49, have had it very, very good. There's nobody alive that I know from the age of 55 like myself and younger who has had it hard. Nobody has had it hard. There are those who have had it rougher, but nobody's had it hard. And so even our urban counterparts, people who live in places like the bigger towns, Squamish, St. John's, Gander, Grand Falls, all those places, still like to harken back to somewhere part of their identity as having come from rural Newfoundland, the little hard town Newfoundland. And I don't see that at all. Matter of fact, I kind of celebrate the fact that we're living in this part of the world and we've had it really good. I love its color and I love its past, but it couldn't be anything of this. We wouldn't even be here if it weren't for the fact we're part of Canada. Would I do it all the same again? No, there's a whole pile of things I would choose to do differently. Now, whether or not I would have the wisdom to foresee those things is another question entirely. Because you can always look back after an age or after a life and say, clever, never taking into account the fact that you were so much as anything provided for, and there were a whole lot of other people who were looking out for you, to say nothing of the fact that luck had an important part to play in your life. The better question would be, rather than would I do anything differently, would be to say, do I have any regrets? And to that, I have no regrets, other than the fact that I never actually replaced a window that I broke on a man after I threw a rock on him. And I have to say, shamefully, that I was almost 20 when I did that. And I took the window, and I did bring it to the people who were going to repair it for me. And they never got it back to me in time. And I'm really sorry about that. But other than that, I don't have any regrets.
This work opens up in the community of Job's Cove. It's the image of Bridget and John appears on stage like an old-fashioned concert, and right there and then everything starts to panorama out. It's highlight or light through the different characters of the communities. And so I've broken it down to a little bit of history, story, picture and song. History, talking about the English surname the Johnson surname because Mom was English, Dad was a Johnson, I was a Sellers. So I wanted to break down how the surnames came about and how I got involved and talked about my siblings. But it all stems right from Job's Cove right up to even the present day as to where I am with the work and how it finishes and so on and so forth. But when I talk about history, story, picture and song, I'm also talking, like you alluded to, the characters of the Cove, the people I came across. Some sang songs without music, that was like my dad. My mom was brought on in English and others. And then we talk about the recitations. People like Robert Service, who influenced the fishermen of Newfoundland and Labrador. People like the late Francis Coble, who inspired me, and Robert Murphy and others. And then we go on to real stories. Stories of people who were adopted just like me. Stories about their past. Then we get into the musical influence, the spiritual influence, the political influence, and then how it was influenced by boat builders, how it was influenced by people who were dedicated but unknown. So it's a whole gamut of everything going on there. And it's my ambition and my objective to see that this might end up in the classroom or into the libraries of our schools and universities.
A co-production of Lucatoon Productions and NTV Newfoundland. Land and Sea is provided by the Derek and Mary Hanrahan Foundation and by Merck.
Merck, pharmaceutical research, dedicated to preventing disease and improving health. Merck, committed to bringing out the best in medicine.
And by the Canadian Broadcast Corporation.
Canadian Broadcast Corporation. Many Canadians today strive to make a difference in everyday life. The Canadian Broadcast Corporation.
And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. Be sure to check out more episodes of Land and Sea coming soon.